Say, do you remember Gravity Falls? Are you upset that that show's over and now there's a void in your heart where it used to be? Are you looking for something, anything that can fill it?
Shut up and get to the point!
Then it is my pleasure to you to introduce a little-known comic known as Courtney Crumrin. Written and illustrated by Ted Nafa and published by Oni Press, you're probably thinking to yourself, Brett, you charismatic and handsome devil. Sure, this comic looks neat and all, but how is this anything like Gravity Falls? Well, shut up, sit down, and I will explain. Now, the basic premise of Courtney Crumrin is you have a middle school age protagonist that moves to a new place, that lives with an older relative with a shady past. The plots are a misadventure of the week that either puts the character in a bizarre scenario or in contact with a bizarre creature, and the town has mysterious secrets that the protagonist must uncover. Okay, before anyone pulls this trigger, let me make one thing perfectly clear. Gravity Falls is not a ripoff of Courtney Crumrin. At least I'm not convinced it is. A possible influence? Maybe, though I'm not sure of that either. But it's most certainly not a ripoff. But yeah, the premise of Courtney Crumrin, not terribly original, but what it lacks in originality, it makes up for in execution. With a book like this, you need an attractive protagonist, and luckily that's exactly what Courtney is. Yeah, Courtney might seem like a typical 11 or 12-year-old girl, snarky, full of attitude, cynical, but she's also got a lot of heart, she's very perceptive, she's willing to learn, and there's also some interesting stuff to find out about Courtney's creepy great-uncle Aloysius, who turns out is actually a powerful warlock. And Courtney actually has talent to become a witch. And if this is starting to sound like Harry Potter, basically, Courtney Crumrin is what happens when you take Gravity Falls, mix it with Harry Potter, and add a twist of Grimm's fairy tales. Now tell me you don't want to read a comic like that. You also have artwork that has a bit of a cartoonish flair that's a little bit influenced by Mike Mignola, and let me say, it fits the book very well. It gives it this sort of innocent vibe, but there's also a lot of cool designs for creatures, as well as some very expressive and distinct character designs. But a book's only as good as its writing, and luckily that very well describes Courtney Crumrin. In fact, if anyone in my audience are parents, you have kids, and you want to introduce them to comics, this is the book you want to start with. Although I would say it's best if they have a third grade reading level at minimum. Not because of the content itself, mainly just because it's gonna go over their heads. However, I would say that this is a book that also appreciates with age. You come with this book when you're 9, you love the magic, you love the monsters, you love all that stuff. But as you get older, you start to see that there's a little more depth to it, a lot more that's going on, and it's actually a very mature book. My personal favorite arc in the entire series, The Coven of Mystics, it's basically a take on To Kill a Mockingbird, with Courtney more or less taking on the role as this series' Scout Finch, obviously. I honestly do not want to spoil this. You really have to read this for yourself just to see how good this is. Now, Ted Nafa is not an unknown quantity, believe it or not. In fact, you might be familiar with his more famous work, Polly and the Pirates. Now, that book I have not read, but based on what I got from Courtney Crumrin, I am interested in checking it out, and perhaps I may visit that in a future video. Now, Ted Nafa has expressed interest in returning to Courtney Crumrin, but personally, I think that would be a mistake, because he's done everything he can with this book, and the ending was pretty definite. Again, don't want to go into spoiler territory, but once you get through the entire run, yeah, you're going to have a hard time seeing what more can be drawn from this well. With all that said, this is a good book. It makes a perfect introduction for your kids if they're old enough to read it. Like I said, try a third grade reading level, and as they get older, they're really going to see just how good this book really is.